Hello, welcome to Unit 4 Socio-Cultural Approach. In this unit, we will learn about how the social interaction and the culture affects people's behaviors. And the concept of this is that we will go over the content of the lesson, the studies, and a brief evaluation of the concept. So here are the topics that we will go over in this unit. To begin with, we will start with Unit 4, Lesson 1, Enculturation and Cultural Transmission. Before that, we need to know what is the definition and the type of culture. There's a diverse definition for culture, and it is a set of behaviors and identity that a group have in common. Matsumoto in 2007 states that culture is like an information system that is shared by a group of people, and this information system allowed them to survive and thrive in the environment. As for Hofstede, he suggests that culture is a programming of the mind that guide people through life and make them different from other people. So although there is a slightly difference between the two, a commonality between all of these definition for culture is that culture is shared by a group of people and is transmitted across generation. And this allowed them to preserve the tradition that their ancestors have. So there are two types of culture, surface culture and deep culture. Surface culture are something that are visible to tourist people, such as like the food, clothing, dance, or an architecture that tourist people could visit and see it. And this is like the surface, because even though you're not a part of the culture, you can still understand it. As for deep culture, this is more like a personal type of thing. So this include like the belief and value and social identity that an expectation that people within the culture have. And this is not really shown on the environment, rather it is the understanding within the closed community. So tourists wouldn't be able to know it, although they would know the architecture and the food that the culture have, but they do not know the social expectation that the people within the culture felt or have. Enculturation is the process by which people learn their own culture. So this involves learning about the norms and expectation of the place that they came from and the role in society. And through enculturation, people learn what to do and what not to do. Cultural transmission is the transfer of culture from one generation to the next, such as how culture is preserved and passed on to future generation. And this is accomplished through enculturation and social cognition. And culture can be learned through many ways. Example of this would be observational learning. This is a part of the social cognitive theory that we will go over in more details in later videos. But what observational learning means is that people learn by just observing others doing the action rather than performing it themselves. So an example of this is you learn how to do chores by just watching your parents doing chores. And as for personal experience, this could be another way you learn through your culture. So this could be by directly participating in an activity such as like picking up trash. So you learn how to appreciate the nature of your own culture. And this is also achieved by formal instruction. So basically what this means is that you are being directly taught by a teacher. For example, like you learn the history of your own nation in your history class. So this is an example of formal instruction. Observational learning is a part of the social cognitive theory. And the four parts of the social cognitive theories are attention, which is when you have to pay attention and watch behavior that you're looking for. As for retention, you must remember the behavior that you just watched. As for motivation, you need to have some type of motivation behind why you want to learn the behavior. Motor reproduction is when you are physically capable of producing the action. Gatekeepers sometimes could affect the way that we take in information. Gatekeepers are parents, teacher, and politicians that could filter out and determine what type of information is shown to the society. So this could affect certain behavior that we would learn. An evaluation point below is that culture and cultural norm is bidirectional. So what that means is that culture is created by the people, but people try to behave to fit in the cultural norm. So it kind of go back and forth between the two. So you don't really know which one really influenced the other, because they both, the people and the culture themselves, really influence each other. A study that supports enculturation is Auden and Rochat in 2004. So the aim of this is to investigate the role of observational learning in enculturation. So sample include 28 children aged 4 to 12 and their parent from the Samoa village. So what they did is that they had a longitudinal study consists of 25 months, and they did a naturalistic observation on the Samoan children behavior and look at how they obtain new skills. And after that, a MCQ test was given to them to test their knowledge on the Samoan chief system. And what they found is that children in the Samoa village were able to obtain skills such as fishing and doing chores through just observing the elders doing it. So although they were not explicitly taught how to do it, by observing others, they were able to become capable fishermen. And an evaluation point is that they can't infer causation because this takes place in a real environment. There are outside factors that could contribute to this, so you can't really infer causation, but instead infer correlation. This has a high ecological validity because since it takes place in the real environment, the behavior of the children would most likely represent how they would behave in real life. The study has a low representational generalization because the sample are really narrow, because it only consists of children and they all came from the Samoan village, so their behavior can represent other people of other age group or area. And this also has potential for a researcher bias because since they don't have a set list of behavior that they're looking for, researcher might give weight to observations that confirm their hypothesis and less weight on observations that challenge it. So since there's no standardized list of behavior for data collection, this is why there's might be chance of researcher bias. So now we're going to go over culture of honors. So what this means is that people tend to place high emphasis on the strength, masculinity, and reputation. So what this mostly happens in the southern USA, and people would use aggression or violence in response to insult because they felt that this served as a challenge to their personal reputation. And people that have high aggression usually have a high testosterone level and cortisol level. So a study that supports culture of honors is Nisbeth and Cohen. So what they did is that they compare the reaction of the southerner and northerner when they are being bumped by a rude Confederate. And they found that southern men are more likely to become angry by an insult than northern men. And what this is because southern region is known for agriculture and people have to be aggressive in order to keep their cattle and crops safe. So they display aggression to scare others away. And over time it passed on to future generation. And this is why southern people tend to have more aggression than other people. And this is it. See you next lesson.